there we are.
Oh my goodness, it's so interesting.
Intro, and we're live.
Oh, there we go.
Hey.
So this is our first, well, not our first Instagram Live, because I did one of those a few weeks ago, and you and Dana, I think at some point came in.
Yep.
This is our very first time using our new As Not Seen on TV set. So that's kind of cool and fun.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. So what are we doing today?
We're here to talk about the Britney Spears rally that we went to this past Wednesday.
And what we decided to do, most of you people probably realize right now, because I always reference Adrian and Dana, or sometimes the Sinister Sisters, depending on how not nice you are being to me at any one point in time. But Dana's out today, and Kayla jumped in, who helps with a lot of our social media.
Hello, everyone.
As Not Seen on TV, and happens to be a authentic, diehard, lifelong, screaming, raving Britney fan.
Yes, I'm the official Britney fan in the office, so...
And Dan, our digital guy.
Oh, Dan, yeah. His favorite song's Toxic.
As we learned, yes. Yes, he really, that's true story.
Yeah.
And he proceeded to sing a big part of it for me when I asked him that. So it was cool. And for the record, he's almost my age. So I was super impressed because he had it down, and then he went into his Christina Aguilera playlist as well. So,
All right, we're getting off topic.
But that's what we do. All right, so all things Britney. We were at the courthouse. Was it 2 days ago already?
Yep, it's Wednesday.
And we're going to talk about some of the things that we did there, that we saw there, some of the people we spoke with. We have some of the clips that we're going to roll into throughout. What did you think? What was your take on it? What did you expect? What was it like?
I was super impressed, by the way, at the turnout and the organization of the rally. Everyone had like the little, the rose pins, the signs, and also like, sometimes you think, oh, Britney Spears fans, they are passionate, but they are so just caring, and it just warmed my heart to see the turnout and to see everyone there.
There was a one lady we spoke with. She came all the way from Oklahoma City.
Yep.
Only for the Free Britney rally.
Flew in that morning.
Flew in that morning.
Flew in, right?
Someone came from Philly, too.
Someone from Philly. Someone from Maine or Maryland.
Yeah.
I kind of combine them. I should know this, but they're like connected at least, right?
I'm the Canadian. I'm going to play the Canadian card here. Dan's shaking his head.
You're from the East Coast.
Maine and Maryland are not
thing.
connected. Well, I'm from New Jersey. I never made it that far. I mean, I got on a plane and came to California. So all right, back to doing digital, man. This is the problem with having a set and a stage. It's in the middle of the whole office, because you'll be like going through important stuff, and like your editors are looking over like this at you, and you're just like, that's freaking wonderful. So yeah, I mean, that is pretty cool. I mean, we talked about it before, when we first ended up doing anything Britney related, it was almost accidental. For the people who didn't know that, a lot of people watching us on Insta Live right now have heard this. We have a lot of new people who haven't. We were doing our meeting in my office one day for the podcast, for It's Not Seen on TV. We were going through our list of guests and different stories, and one of our producers, Dana, said, hey, do you want to speak to Brian Spears, Britney Spears' brother? And I said, no, why would we do that? And, well, there's a big court hearing coming up soon. This was several weeks ago. And I'm like, sure, okay, but I can do it at noon tomorrow, and just make sure we don't hurt his feelings. If it's not super interesting or relevant, then we're not going to run it. We have to see.
Pause here. Kayla and I and the rest of the girls on the team, we knew.
Because Brian had never spoken before, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a really big deal. So I was the last to know. And again, leading up, we did the podcast, we go through, and we end up putting it out. And I think it was the next morning.
Yeah.
My phone starts going off, and the clip from our podcast, Brian is on Good Morning America. It was the Today Show was covering it, People Mag, it was all over the place. But what we quickly did realize, and this was cool, is that it is a story that goes so far beyond the music. And that's what's excited me personally, why we have continued to follow it and are going deeper and deeper, because we got to meet people, like Kevin, he's Free Britney
Advocate. Oh, Free Britney LA.
Yeah. Right.
That's his
and we've met so many of these people, spoken with so many of these people, been online with them, and really became very clear that it is so much more about the music. It's one about Britney herself and what she has meant to so many people, and what we can get into that. And then also the topic of not just her conservatorship, but conservatorship in general and what a big issue that is. And, you know, we spoke to someone at the courthouse who's an attorney on the matter. The ACLU, we'll touch on that. We'll pull up that story, which just came out yesterday. A bunch of people were hitting me on Instagram yesterday and today when they knew that we were doing this live saying, please make sure you talk about how the ACLU is getting involved. Now, I mean, it's like a really big deal. And if people think that this whole Free Britney movement and the whole topic is about, oops, I did it again, it, you know, it isn't. I mean, it is beyond so much more. It
is. And I have to say, I love that we started our day. We ran into Timothy. Shout out to Timothy. He traveled from the East Coast. And he called Drew out a little bit, right? Did he not? Which I love, of course. Love you, Tim.
Yeah, I remember. He posted a video and he came for us a bit.
He came for us. But we appreciate that, right? Like, that's real.
Oh, for sure.
And he told us what's up.
And he had like this cool Britney shirt on, and we bumped into him coming out of a Starbucks.
Yes, we did.
And we said something like you know, what brings you out or whatever. And he's like, oh, I came for you. And I was like, oh, that's so nice of you.
Yeah, you weren't getting it at first, but I was like, that's not a good thing. And I'm looking at
you guys are like this, and he's like, no, I came for you. I'm like, yeah, that's really thoughtful, man. That's great. I'm like, man, our audience is growing. And then like you or Dane or someone's like, no, he was like calling you out. Like, so what was that? Tell me about that. We spoke about it there, but what was his reaction then? I haven't looked at that specific thing.
Well, he wanted you to set the record straight because he felt like, why you? Brian Spears had never, ever talked to any press at any time, and he's like, so random. Why is he talking to Drew Plotkin on the As Not Seen on TV podcast?
That's right.
Which is a rightfully, good question, Tim. And so you answered him, and it sort of set the record straight, and he understood.
Right. He said you were not a true Britney fan, a lifelong Britney into music, but what he did say too is that he appreciated that I didn't fake it and lie, and I was upfront and open about it and telling it more as a human interest story with the information that we did have, and I listened and we went from there. And I think that's been important to people, and we're not going to have not pretended to be an expert on something I'm not, but we've been listening to the music around here. But what has been really cool is the people and the stories about what Britney has meant to them. The lady that we spoke with at the courthouse the other day who came in from Oklahoma City, and she was talking about certain challenges and issues that she has dealt with in her life for a long time and struggled with, and they overlapped with some of Britney's issues, and the fact that Britney had been open with and does not hide or run from issues she had, it gave this woman, that sense of security and support throughout her life. When we spoke with Kevin on our podcast, he referenced that his whole experience with Britney was part of what gave him the comfort to come out in life and be who he really was. And I remember it was that moment when Kevin had said that on our podcast. I got a shiver. I really did. And I was like, man, this is like something like whatever art does for people, whether it's a musician that speaks to you, and they're singing they can sell 10 million albums, but if it really connects with you, they're speaking to you alone. A movie, an actor, a film, a piece of art. And that was when Kevin talked about his story, and then the more and more we said to people or asked them the question, which would be kind of cool. That we're doing Instagram Live, and again, I'm the dinosaur, so I don't know how much people can even type in on Instagram Live, but I would love for people to share, what their connection to Britney was. If there's a something that it shaped their lives, and the music is great too, but what about beyond the music?
I remember Ryan's story of being outside of a concert in a car and just being able to slightly hear it. And I think that's a true fan right there.
Because her family didn't have money.
Yeah, so it's the only way that she could. And that was the closest she could be a Britney, and she was so happy,
She was on the roof of like her dad's car or someone's car outside the arena, and she heard the music, and the way, you kind of first want to be like, oh, it's sad that, you didn't have the money, you couldn't go in and see it. And the way she told the story was not sad at all. She had the best seat in the house, man.
Yeah,
totally. So that's some of the stuff that pulled us in. I want to show some of the video and then look at some of the questions. What's the first piece? We spoke with a couple of people. Jason Alexander, right?
Yeah, we spoke to Jason Alexander.
I was definitely not expecting him to be there.
Me neither.
I was a little fangirly, but I tried to be cool.
Like when you screamed in the office when you realized that we were doing the Britney thing and you screamed.
Yeah, and you said my name in the podcast. It's been a big moment for me, but that's okay. We'll continue.
So all right. then everyone knows, but let's hear from you. Jason Alexander, not the Seinfeld guy who played George Costanza. Not that I made that mistake ever or
married
twice.
to Britney for 55 hours, the ones where they got married in Vegas and very quickly got unmarried, and kind of hearing from him and exactly what happened with the whole team. I mean, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Had you ever read or seen anything about the 55-hour marriage? Now, a lot of people didn't know he was going to be there, so there was a lot of excitement about that.
It was in 2004, so I mean, it was a while ago. So I was definitely a little rusty. As soon as they said who he was, I was like, oh yeah, I remember him. But I didn't realize he was such a big part of this movement, and he's speaking to it. I had no idea.
And that he grew up with her, basically.
Yeah,
right.
For
a lot
sure.
Of things. So what's the first clip we're going to watch, Adrian?
So as everyone knows, Jason Alexander, they got married in 2004, like Kayla just said. It was a 55-hour wedding until basically, well, we'll play the clip, but Jason kind of explains, I think you asked him how it was after he got married, and this is what he says. So let's play the audio.
All right.
After we got married, the whole thing was like awkward and weird, and
Right away between you guys?
Right away, they took her into another room, separated us for a couple of hours. I don't know, a team of lawyers in suits, the men in black.
And they did what?
Laid out contracts on the table, and they separated us. I willingly cooperated.
Okay.
Because of respect for the family that I had, just coming from a small
Well, in
town.
respect for Britney.
And being scared out my f***ing ass. I'm 22 years old. I'm way over my head.
So a lot, I'm asking those questions and reacting because I'm hearing this for the first time for me. And, it's really fascinating hearing it from the beginning. He's telling this story. He shares with us, and we might see some of it in other clips that we're going to show, but he's saying, he grew up in the same town, small town. And I remember Brian, he was good friends with Brian Spears. They've been really close friends, according to Jason. That town had about 1,200 people in Louisiana. Do you remember the name of the town, diehard Britney fan?
I'm so sorry. No, I don't. You put me on the spot.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, though, not Alabama,
Let's
like you said the other day.
Instagram Live.
Those
Guys,
are connected.
We're failing here.
So, people are probably like lighting up right now with the
like, how
name.
good
So
you-
is it on there? Did someone write in? What was the city?
Not yet.
Kentwood.
That's
Thank
right.
You.
All right. So,
Yes, thank
so-
you, Giannia
Thanks, guys.
Green, Ace of
And
Spears.
that means they technically get entered for the hat and the shirt.
That's
is that how
right.
that works?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, set
So
up the giveaway.
how does that work?
So we're gonna do a giveaway after live, so before end of day, and for anyone who asks a question or if we react
Or
to you
helps
here,
us with something.
exactly, you're entered to win. So make sure to comment.
And we're giving away one hat and one shirt total, right?
That's
Yep.
right. One
Two
hat.
winners.
Yep, 2 winners.
Because we're just starting out. Our budgets are a little bit lower. It's like we're like this close to Joe Rogan and we're going to catch up, or that $100 million Spotify
We're
deal.
pretty far from Joe
But
Rogan.
we're
I'm just
holding
gonna
out
say
for
that.
more money. We're better negotiators.
Okay.
We're not going to let them underpay us at Spotify, just so they know. So we're talking to Jason Alexander. They grew up in the same town. He's telling us that he was really good friends with Brian, her brother. They used to hang out. He used to go over the house and was very comfortable and cordial with Britney's parents. They were kind of like on and off childhood sweethearts, it sounded like, from what he was saying. And then they go to Vegas, and he's 22 at the time. And they decide to get married, the two of them.
Yeah, he was saying it was a New Year's Eve thing. She invited him out there, and they were having such a great time that apparently they decided they wanted to stay connected even after their trip, which, and I think he said he was 22 years old at the time. So we've all been there, right? Young and in love, and think that we know.
So you got married when you were 22?
No, I
Does
didn't.
Does Damon know this?
That's when I got married, but that's okay.
Oh,
We're happy.
see? So there you go. Proof. It could work.
Yeah.
But I thought she was from Iowa till like 10 minutes before we shot this, and she's worked for us for a while now. So we really got to do a
That's
better job
terrible.
getting to know our people. It's not a big office. I mean, she works like 10 feet from me.
But it must, I'm just thinking back, when you're 22 years old, to have, like he said, the men in black come in the day and put paperwork in front of
It's
him.
scary.
So when he
Immediately
says
they separated
so let's talk
that.
about that. So and that was only one clip. So the Men in Black, he's obviously not talking about the Will Smith movie. In his tone and his delivery, and he recapped it a few different ways. Basically, it was saying like this team of bodyguards, this team of intimidating people. I don't remember his exact words. We recorded it with him. him, but he was describing being very intimidated, very scared. It was very much like, no, you go over here, Britney, you go over there, Jason, to that room. They were separated.
Yeah,
I think he said that Britney's mom was there. I'm trying to, you know, and then basically they took out papers. This is according to Jason. Obviously, we weren't there, and I don't think there's video of that. And he says they made him sign an NDA, a confidentiality, and an annulment. And you know, I asked him, I said, so why would you do that if you didn't want to? But I get that. I mean, you know, you'd be intimidated. I mean, a lot of times in life, people do, you know, Pavlov's dogs, you know, is the, you know, if someone, a lot of people are used to that when authority tells you to do something, and if 6 fairly large guys come in and the girl's parents or parent and says, do this, you know, we all would react differently, but I don't think that's like bizarre.
Yeah, and
oh, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say the next clip, actually, you did ask him just that.
Oh,
why
yeah?
did,
Let's
why
go into
did
that
you
then.
sign it? Let's watch this clip really quick because that goes into what you just said.
So why did you sign the annulment? Because they said that if we just cooperated, that they would let us continue our relationship, and if we felt the same way, we would have a proper marriage. And I believe.
Have you seen her since that day?
They sent me home, and that was the last time I'd ever seen Britney.
I mean, wow.
So according to him, he's saying that it was basically promised, you know, you'll get something in return. You guys will get what you want. You'll get a proper marriage, which, you know, it can be taken a lot of ways, but maybe we'll set you up with like a real big deal. What, someone has
Sorry,
something?
so Free Britney London just said they were never in love. That's not why they got married. Britney explained in an interview that it was an act of rebellion, basically, as she was young and always been told what to do.
yeah,
Which makes sense.
Yeah, because
right?
actually Billy, who was right next to Jason, they were talking, and they both said that they think she entered the marriage as like, maybe this is one thing that I can do for myself. Like, what can they do about it?
Yeah.
And I think that was because the control has happened before the conservatorship that allegedly has. And so wanting to get married just to do something that they can't stop.
So I'm going to be honest. I'm not.
That puts the London Britney fan
Free
from
Britney
London.
London, yeah.
We won't do that each time, but this is because, you
for
know,
sure. We'll keep track.
for a hat or a shirt or something.
You know, I'm not a crazy Britney fanatic like Kayla is here. But
Or Dan, our digital guy.
And Dan, yeah, exactly. But that's like super interesting to me because I knew about the 2008 sort of breakdown, right? The shaving the head like that. So that's where I thought, oh, it all started.
That's when the world kind of like for everyone who is not.
Exactly, but really there's all these red flags way before that because they got married in 2004. And I'm sure there's even more that we don't know about. So,
Well,
I think it was almost like a cry for help that Britney was trying to.
And you know, we're going to talk about it in a little bit and want to hear from some other people who are following this right now as far as Jason goes, you know, the credibility factor. We're not judging anyone, but we each have our own opinions just from a limited interaction. You know, it is quite possible that his perception was that they were in love. And, you know, she may have had a different perception of this is freedom. This is, you know, I can get out of my home or wherever she was trying to get out of. I mean, again, we don't know, but it is very possible. I think people get married probably very often with different mindsets, whether they realize it or not. So there's some things he said that day, 2 days ago, that I do definitely raised more of a question in my mind about the legitimacy of it. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, everyone right now is saying we shouldn't believe him on here, and as well as the live that we had on Wednesday. We got a lot of comments, people not believing him.
Yeah, well, let's jump into that. So there were 2 big flags for me, and again, we don't know, so I'm not condemning the guy. I'm not saying, you know, factually, but one was when he talked about recording a previous conversation with her and acknowledging that. And, you know, I thought first of all, the way he described it and explained it, none of that made sense. Like as far as like being okay. So that in itself was pretty shady, in my opinion. And then he mentioned that he had a book deal with a publisher. And I think he mentioned he was about to get $500,000 and that her father, Jamie Spears, I believe he said it was her father, Jamie Spears, Britney Inc., threatened to sue the publisher or did sue the publisher once, one or the other, how he said that, or threatened, and that the publisher pulled the deal. And again, that didn't like exactly seem heroic to me. I mean, I don't know what he was going to write in the book, but taking money, you know, to tell a story that I don't know how that would have helped Britney. So those were two of the things that definitely did not go in the win column for him, in my opinion. But you know, you're like geared up, Kayla. What?
Yeah, it's just that if he said that Britney wanted to give him money. This is how I understood the conversation: is that Jason needed money. Britney couldn't because of the conservatorship, and so that is why he leaked their conversation to Radar Online to get the money. So it almost kind of seems like invested interest in this conservatorship, because maybe he thinks he can get money from Britney, but he can't out of the current conservatorship situation. That's what it kind of seemed like for me.
Yeah, I don't know. What was your take? You're texting. Are you doing?
I'm so sorry. Our TV just went out behind us, so I was trying to text.
At least people know that it's live.
My bad. It is.
Or you can just
live.
Scream for Cameron, our handy dandy technical person.
I am going to be honest with you guys. I am totally oblivious to any of this Jason's a liar stuff, and it's maybe just I'm Canadian and I like to see, you know, the good in people. But I believe the guy, and you know, first time seeing him yesterday and talking to him, and I was like, oh, this seems like a legit guy, like caring for Britney. But after hearing all of our comments and speaking to Kayla, I'm like, oh, yeah, that is a little shady. You're right. Like, I'm starting to see it now. So yeah, I could see for sure why people think, you know, he's maybe out there for money, for the media attention.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So they're going to try to.
Random.
They'll fix the TV in the meantime. You know, again, our budget's a little bit low for this right now. It's you know, it's understandable. Our IV or not our IV, our IT/tech team are really our graphics guys and animators and who do an amazing job on all of our commercials and stuff. And now we've kind of drafted them into the podcast world and Instagram Live. So, you know, it's one of those things that it is hard to ignore. All the history.
Yeah.
You do hear that. I wasn't looking for the history of it. I had not heard about what people thought of him before or after. We'll talk about Billy, her former makeup artist, who we're going to see some clips of when we get the TV up and running again, or maybe more of Jason as well. He and I had been touching base beforehand. I wanted to speak with him, and we did, and we'll chat about that. Great guy, really enjoyed that. My initial read on Jason was, without any other information, that several of the things just didn't add up. There were certain things that sounded nice and sweet and genuine and like, oh, great, small town. But the other thing that he brought up, which is obviously a big deal, and this was all over the media, he told us, he may have told other people, there were other people there doing recordings, but when he said that he had spoke to Britney the night before, that he'd been on the phone with her.
Yeah, the comments started blowing up on our live that people didn't necessarily believe that.
Yeah.
But what made you question it?
Well,
why was that?
Right, and I'm not, you said that you're gullible because you're Canadian, and I would never say that because I want to be able to visit Canada and get some good maple syrup and stuff and not be, I don't want to get kicked out over that. But for me, I didn't go into it thinking I'm not going to believe him. If he said, oh, he spoke to her the night before, they were married, there seemed to be like just a lack of consistency and of some of the things. First, he said he spoke to her, texted with her last night and then this morning, and it all started to kind of flow together and it started to like blend. And then when you know, the first thing that you do is really try to ask someone to repeat something they told you. If it was a real experience, you know, you don't sit there and say, oh, you're a freaking liar. You just say, so when did you speak to her last? And you wait a few minutes, and it never seemed to match up exactly the same.
Yeah.
What got me is when he pulled out his phone, like he was looking at the text.
Yeah.
That was a little like overcompensating a bit, I feel, but we don't know.
But what he did is he was looking at it, and I said, "Are you expecting?" And I looked over myself, and what I wondered is, had I not been looking over at his screen where I could see it, not to be nosy, but I guess I was being nosy, and I'm like, "Has Britney followed up?" He's like, "No, I haven't heard from her." But I would have seen if he was pulling up a text from her. So had he just looked at something on his own, not shown the screen or something, or if he had said he was reading a text from her, I would have said, could we see that? I mean, we're not, you know, it's not just going to be okay with someone just randomly saying, oh, she just texted me now and here's what she said. So,
so can we also just talk really quickly? Because I thought
Cam, do you need something from us to get this running? It's okay.
I'm doing it. It's just taking me a second. Sorry.
It's all right. We're stealing all of Oprah's audience right now, so it's like
I'm connecting,
it's just
reconnecting here. I thought it was interesting. He spoke to several media outlets that day, but also it was a little undercover. And if I can get this going, we'll play the bite too.
Yeah, there's some good bites coming
He
up.
mentioned like that he started talking to her 3 months ago to maybe establish a relationship or friendship or whatever. But it kind of was leading to like he was maybe trying to get.
Yeah, a lot of
reconnected in
media
that way.
outlets kind of turned that into think he was insinuating that he wanted maybe a more romantic relationship with her.
Right.
So I thought that was very interesting. I mean, he hadn't seen her since 2004.
right.
It's a little odd. She's also not single. She has a boyfriend. I'm not sure what his status is, but it was kind of interesting he said that comment.
Totally. Sorry, guys. I'm not getting this. It's probably my computer.
One person says, how could Britney be texting Jason when we are told that all of her calls and texts are monitored? That's another big thing.
I thought I asked that too. And I don't know if we even have that in the clips if we do get this going. But I thought, it's connecting. Adrian says connecting to Adrian's laptop.
Is it?
Oh, yay.
Oh, it says couldn't connect
But
on mine.
I did ask him that question. I'm almost 90% certain, if not more, of, so she has the ability. Oh, I did. So she has the ability to talk to you. Like, how is that when everything's supposed to be? And then he referenced, I said, does she like sound like she's available and wide open, or does she sound like there's other people there? And he's like, oh, yeah, there's other people. It sounds like sometimes it's late at night. Sometimes she's like, I got to go now real quickly. Or so then he kind of went with that after I referenced it.
It says here, though.
Cam, you can look at it if you need to.
Over
Because it's okay. People know that we're trying to figure this out and they want to watch the clips too. The Cam man.
Okay, a lot of people are commenting about Lou Taylor.
So many Lou Taylor. So one of the clips coming up, we kind of have a opinion on something that Jason said that we think he was insinuating. So Lou Taylor was all over the signs at the Free Britney rally. She.
So I have to just say, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently, and crime podcasts. I know it's creepy, but when I met with Kayla and Bethany, who discovered this bite, so I don't. We want to play the clip, but basically, Drew,
if we can't play the clips, we'll read the bites.
You had set up to Jason. Who is in charge? Who do you think is the big person making all these conservatorship calls and all? And what was Jason's response? Do you remember?
Yeah, something along the lines of, here, device is ready to go.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, this is my favorite clip.
People hit on this one a lot.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys.
Congrats. That was pretty good IT, considering.
Hold on, let me find the time code. Here it is, 58 seconds. All right. So this is the clip.
Who do you think, ultimately, if you had to say, who do you think is the top decision maker about all of these things? Why we're here today, the conservatorship and the issues that you experience?
I think it's an army of attorneys.
Someone has to tell attorneys what to do.
Records,
Who's telling the attorneys what to do? Who's at the top? The top.
I mean, the devil.
And does the devil have a name?
Okay.
His name's Lucifer, man.
All right.
So first of all, I love Billy's reaction to it, and he steps away. It's amazing. But initially, I, off the top of my head, was thinking he was talking about Jamie, Britney's dad. That was just what I thought he was insinuating.
Right.
But with further investigation, we realized that on a sign when we were looking through footage, that someone said Lucifer on one of their signs and did a U, like it's Lucifer, referring to Lou Taylor. That's what we think he's now referring to.
So why wouldn't he have just said Lou Taylor then?
I mean, I think he's kind of known, or she's known to be just as scary, because that's allegedly, she tried to do the same thing to Lindsay Lohan. She was also the manager of Courtney Love. And so there's a lot with Lou Taylor that we haven't really fully delved into. But and
we know she actually was Courtney Love's manager. Is that accurate?
I believe I read that. I'm 99% sure.
I've seen, again, on our feeds, people sending, we've been bombarded with messages from the Free Britney movement saying, you really need to interview Lou Taylor. And again, we would love to interview all of the people that people are, we've said, Jamie Spears would give you every opportunity in the world to speak freely, unedited, and but that doesn't mean that they're going to want to speak at this point.
Yeah.
But Lou Taylor comes up a lot, so that would be very interesting. He doesn't come across as the cryptic guy,
No, he doesn't.
or that he would have been that. I don't know.
Maybe I was looking into it too much, but I just thought it was very interesting, that whole moment, especially Billy's reaction. It was just like, because Billy was very careful throughout the whole time.
So let's, before we jump over to Billy, what are some of the ones coming in on Instagram that you guys want to respond to?
I thought this one was interesting. Ace of Spears says Courtney Love said she tried to put her in a conservatorship too. So maybe this is something that...
Yeah, she's known to do that. That's what I've read.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lou Taylor. So we have more digging to do on that, you guys.
We do.
For sure. Should we talk about Billy?
Yeah.
Billy B, who we've been chatting with, I guess since the Brian Spears podcast,
Well,
right?
yeah,
So
not officially until, we'd connected offline. And off record, we had not gotten into any specific information or details at all. We knew he was going to be at the rally. He had shared that, and then he was also public about it on Instagram. Look, I had a pretty good vibe about him. Just it's a very open world. I mean, just looking at Billy's Instagram, seeing his life, his background. We work with a lot of great makeup artists in our non-podcast jobs when we're not doing this. Usually makeup artists in this industry have to be highly trusted. I mean, they have a level of access and proximity that even certain times managers, agents, and other people don't, a level of trust. You're sitting there sometimes 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a day, depending on the project, with the person, the celebrity, the actress, the singer, whoever it is. So it would make sense. And he was a very interesting person. And it was pretty clear, in my opinion, leading up to this, that he was very torn about if he was going to say anything or not. His Instagram was full of people saying, Billy, speak, Billy, do this, Billy, do that. And I don't know what type of agreements he may have signed in the past, confidentialities, NDAs, if he did, if he didn't, what the timeframes were, if he was risking anything speaking. But I did not have any expectations at the event of what he may or may not say, or if he'd speak at all. We walked up, and after we saw some of the other people there and saw Billy, one of the best dressed people there, number one. I mean, the dude is sporty. He's got it dialed in beyond belief. And we did chat. He did agree to speak with us. And he was, I mean, just a really likable guy, first of all. Very believable.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah, at first sight. I mean, you just...
Very easy to talk to. And you could tell he genuinely wants the best for Britney.
For sure. Should we play our first clip here?
Yeah.
I think it's our only clip.
Jamie Lynn and her dad, have spoken out and said that the fans are crazy and that, everyone is a conspiracy theorist.
Conspiracy theorist and a joke. After we did our interview with Brian Spears, he did the post-page six.
Right. No, I get it. But this is the thing. On paper, Mr. Spears, what do you expect people to think?
Yeah.
On paper, it is absolutely a dictatorship. She was a...
So, interesting. He's so right, though. Like, what do you expect? You can't call this a joke, that the fans are crazy, or I'm sorry, whatever Jamie Spears said. On paper, this really does not look good at all. And why is there no hint of an explanation from the family? Wouldn't, to Drew's point, and you spoke about this before, if you had a daughter, you would say very loudly, no, this is what's going on because of X, Y, and Z, and like I said, I'm not the biggest Britney fan ever, but don't you guys owe it a little bit to her fans to kind of say what's going on here?
Yeah, it's interesting. And you said if you had a daughter, I mean, I have 3 daughters, as you know, and it's also I have 18 security cameras at my house that stream live to my phone and have motion sensor and recording and everything else. And that's mostly for my older one, just so on top of it, if she ever gets the idea of sneaking out. So that's my topic on my 3 daughters, who I love very much. Look, I'm sure I hope 99. I wish 100% of all fathers were, love their daughters, and this as your fathers do. And I know you both speak about your fathers very, very sweetly. I quote your father a lot from inspirational things that he shares with you that you pass along. So it's one of those things that I would not fault someone in any way if I had the totality of something or understood, that, hey, we just want to be private, and that's the extent of it. And I happen to be on the side of things that I believe that celebrities or people in the media or famous people, recognizable, deserve 1,000 times more privacy than they're given. I think it's absurd and outrageous, and the whole paparazzi thing. When I've seen them running up to Britney before years ago, running up, and I mean, I almost had a heart attack. It was like a stampede of people running towards this poor young woman, and that was her everyday life. And we see it all the time, even in the world that we work in with other people. I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible that when someone goes to the beach, and it's almost always a woman they do this to. They do it to men as well, but you see it where a woman is in a bathing suit, and it's not flattering, at least in their perception. That's the perception of the paparazzi, and it's mean, it's rude, it's hurtful, so I understand why the side of hey, it's my daughter, I want to be protective, and there might be medical issues involved. We don't know the extent, if they are, what they are. There's medical privacies. All of that I get. What I get from the fans, and again, you have 100,000 plus Free Britney people, and that's a loose estimate. I think on the low end, it's probably much more. I would imagine millions of Britney fans worldwide, but what you see predominantly, I mean, I'm talking excessively on one side versus the other, is the fans feeling that there's just a lack of information, a lack of transparency. And I'm not speaking about those paparazzi videos. Nobody's saying, hey, can you take video of Britney eating her Cheerios in the morning or invading her privacy? They just want to know, we haven't heard from her directly in years. Is she okay? And the things that the fans and even people who are not Britney fans from the musical sense, we spoke to a woman who's an attorney who we'll see a bite from her shortly on conservatorships, who's been following this very closely. We'll hear from her. And she talked about her daughter, who I believe she was saying was your age, who grew up with Britney. So it's not even, like we said, just music fans. So I do think that my outside looking in with what I've seen, clearly not the entire picture, but what I've seen is, I think before you get angry and talk about, this is a conspiracy theory, these people are a joke, I think there's an opportunity to step back and instead of throwing gasoline on something, say, this Free Britney movement, if it's 100,000 people, I think you can be confident, Mr. Spears, that the vast, vast majority, if not 100% of them, care about your daughter. And there's probably an opportunity to speak to them in a way. There's PR people that can help you. There's it's not unreasonable to think that there are ways you can communicate, share with people that if they want to know if she's safe, if they want to know if she's able to make her own decisions, if, these types of things. I don't think it has to be a shut it down, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a joker. I would imagine that, I know if anyone tells me, absolutely not, quiet, go to your room. I mean, that's the biggest way in the world to fire me up about pretty much anything, big or small. Do that to 100,000 plus and growing people, and there's probably people right now saying we're 5 million strong. Maybe it is, I don't know, but it's not a small thing. There have been celebrities who've come out on behalf of it's all over the media this week. We just saw the story yesterday. Can you pull it up? Would it even come up on here about the ACLU? What was that article? That was pretty cool. Or there's Billy's, go back to Billy's thing for a sec. This dude's cool, man. And so so he pulled up the thing about the ACLU. This was a tweet from the ACLU?
This was the tweet, from
people
August
with disabilities have a right to lead self-directed lives and retain their civil rights. If Britney Spears wants to regain her civil liberties and get out of her conservatorship, we are here to help. So I'm assuming that is a official ACLU tweet that he shared on his site. I've read the stories. And we've gotten a lot of messages from people since yesterday all morning. I woke up, looked at my thing. Please bring up the ACLU thing. Look, here's the one thing that this elevates the Free Britney movement, and the one word, legitimacy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Whether they're
acknowledging that there's something weird here and they want to help.
Yeah. And I would imagine there's no shortage of people in the world, depending on what state you're in, who'd say ACLU, legitimate. Come on, and we're a divided country, but there are millions and millions and millions of people in America alone, let alone around the world, who absolutely would take the ACLU as a legitimate organization. They're known for speaking out on behalf of civil liberties and human rights, and they are not coming to this because they want to request, I keep saying "hit me, baby" one more time. Right? Did I get it right this time?
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Hit me. It's those two words.
Yeah.
I know those lyrics. Dan, what are your favorite line from Toxic? Come on, show off.
That was such an awkward, nervous laugh from Dan.
Taste of your lips.
Oh God, this is so weird. No.
Okay.
Stop.
Good.
All right, we're moving on.
I had to prove to myself.
Please stop.
So I think that was really fascinating that the ACLU is getting involved,
Yeah.
and it brings up a lot of media attention. And then what was Billy's other tweet?
And can we just pay respects to the Free Britney movement and the organizers? Without this awareness and this sort of media, I don't know that this ever would have really happened.
I don't think it would have.
Right?
Exactly.
No way it would have.
It would have kept being swept under the rug, and now we're hearing from Britney's team, right?
Britney's team, maybe.
Supposedly.
I mean, we don't know for sure, but I mean, I think that's a very good point you make. I think it's one thing you could say is that is a win for the Free Britney movement.
Yeah.
That when
Progress.
the ACLU would not be even aware of or seeing this specific case related to Britney if it was not for the Free Britney movement and all the people who are they always
Some
say
people have been at it for a real long time.
what's the saying? How do you eat an 800-pound elephant? One bite at a time, and it's just these small little nibbles, and that's really when you look at the Free Britney movement. It's the people who fly in from Oklahoma City for one day to be with their other Free Britney, comrades on this. But Billy had another tweet.
Yeah,
or this is Instagram, right?
This is his Instagram. So just a couple of things. Just first, quickly, he had this to say: "I have never felt so good, so right about spilling a pot of tea in my life. Hip hip hooray!" And so we know prior he's spoken about.
Let's talk about China Green.
Sorry.
China Green, perhaps. Tea.
China Green.
Tea.
I have no idea what that
Okay.
means.
That was my way of joking, saying he's clearly not talking about tea.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
It's a generational thing.
I was like, Drew. No, but he had mentioned before that he has tea to spill, but if he's going to spill the tea, he's going to make sure that it's to the right people who actually have something to make an impact and to take action on this. So that to me is hopeful that he spoke to someone that could really make a difference,
There's another one though, just one more from him that it got an ooh out of you today. You're like, ooh, this is, So it says, this is on Billy's Instagram today.
No, this was yesterday.
So I'm quoting from Billy's Instagram. So he wrote, "So I get a message today, the day after the courthouse and everything. He's all over the news and all over different media outlets and the internet. So I get a message today that just like I see someone, they, quote, see me, quote, what am I doing? They said, I love you and thank you. And then he writes hashtag mission accomplished." That kind of gives you a little bit of chill. So
It really does.
I mean, I'm sure right now, what are people online saying about
People
what
love Billy. That's been a consensus.
That is true.
Someone appreciated your tea joke, Drew. So
Thank you.
You're not alone.
someone who I'll be living next to in the old age home when you guys ship me off shortly, probably. I'll make a new friend.
See.
What do you guys think about this message from Billy? Who do you think he's talking about? Comment.
Yeah, if someone comments on it, then maybe add them to the list for the hat or this shirt.
Billy has gotten through for sure, Miss Protector says.
I mean, you got to think that, right? I mean, look, my opinion reading that, as I imagine most people, is if he's not speaking about Britney, who?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I totally
everyone
agree.
is saying Britney, of course.
Yeah.
Which just warms my heart because he's such a good guy. And like you said, I think he was a little conflicted whether to take action or not to take action. But I think he mentioned he started by sending some undercover tweets and whatever. And then he very quickly realized that no, the world is watching and that he could potentially make a difference in this and change someone's life. So I respect that.
Something caught my eye. Leanne Simmons, 19, who we actually talked to at the rally, said she spoke to Billy at length. He's definitely talking about Brit.
Love that.
So, I mean, that's definitely her opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with that for sure.
Actually, some people are now saying it might be Lynn, since Britney can't use her phone. There's been a couple people. So
Lynn being Britney's mom.
Correct.
Yeah.
So some people are saying that Lynn Spears, the mom, and there's been, you know, again, the rumors about that, or people debating back and forth saying, you know, is the family divided? You know, and again, I don't want to, we don't know, we're not there and not part of it, but in most families, everyone does not always see eye to eye. Everyone does not always agree with things. We've seen comments from Jamie Lynn, Britney's sister, their other daughter, that are not necessarily always received well by the Free Britney movement per se. We don't know that Lynn, the mom, and the dad, Jamie, agree eye to eye in any way. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So that could be a very interesting thing, if that was. And we do know, you know, Brian grew up, not Brian, Jason grew up in the hometown. And was a guest at the Spears house often, knew Lynn, knew the family, so it would not be out of the realm of possibility that could be another theory. I'm saying Jason. I don't know why I confused that again. Billy.
Billy, yes,
Billy.
sorry.
I totally went to another area, so that part about the same hometown means nothing. Forget about that. That was worse than my tea comment. But the fact that Billy was her makeup artist, Britney's makeup artist for so long, and he did have interactions with Lynn and Jamie. He talked about that with us. He did mention also that when we were shooting with him, that the green room, and you know, you've been in green rooms a lot, I've been in green rooms a lot, that you know, and normally they're very packed. Normally it's, you know, or a lot of people want to be inside. They're normally not dead empty, at least continuously. I mean, there's windows of time where people want to be alone, you know, but usually there's some activity, at least at various points during a day, an event, something. And what Billy had said to us on camera was that his observation was that Britney's green room was always very desolate, very isolated, near empty. And, you know, that, and I remember saying, you know, was that kept that way because she didn't want people around, or that other people didn't want to have people around? And so you know, it's one of those things again that it does seem that throughout this process, that there's always been a level of less access, I guess would be the word, a lot less access than you might otherwise see on any level. I don't know. Do you have another clip from Billy?
Yeah. Well, actually, we can go to Billy, but I think there's one other clip, but we also have a clip here from Lisa.
Do you want to go to Lisa first, or Bill? Well, we'd have to say who Lisa.
Okay, let's finish Billy. Hold on.
Finish Billy.
Uno momento. Let me bring up that second bite. Hold on. Right here. All right.
She was appointed an attorney. Where are the people that love her? Where are they that are allowing her to be represented by a public defender?
She doesn't have money to hire an attorney directly, so obviously you can see where there's a concern.
Exactly what you just said. Money that she can freely access.
Right.
To get a real attorney, an attorney of power, an attorney that has a lot of experience in exactly this, which is so unusual and specific.
Yeah, that's the part that really gets me. It's just like a basic right to be able to have someone to defend you. Like and the fact that she can't go and get herself a lawyer is just so scary to me.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and that part is interesting and debatable because the story had come out, or at least unknown. I mean, there's certain things we just don't know as facts because there is not a lot of public information or agreement on things. In that sense, there was something, an article a day, right? I think it was a day before the court hearing, that had referenced, and it said an attorney on, pull that one up, TMZ is an easy one if you can pull that up on Google, because we only have 10 minutes left because I actually have a conference call at 2 o'clock that you're on as well. So we have 10 minutes, and so we'll make the most of it. Lori Loughlin and Massimo got jail time. That will be for another time. That story. That was
Someone
an
said
evil Canadian
Asa
cackle.
Spears says her father petitioned in court for them to remove that right from her.
So hit the 818 one.
Cool.
This one?
Yeah. So let me scroll down. I want to just read it. So this was on TMZ. Britney Spears is looking to make some big changes to her conservatorship. She's firmly against her father. Jamie continuing to run the whole show. Britney's court-appointed attorney just filed new court documents spelling out Britney's wishes. She wants Jamie Spears out as sole conservator over her estate and appears to want the woman who since last fall has been calling the shots to be the permanent conservator over her regular person. And then here's the other thing. It says in the docs, the lawyer says Britney strongly prefers. Here's where it gets confusing, is things are never as obvious or easy as they seem, because we're going to show the clip from the attorney and the lady in blue. You'll set up who she is. So a lot of people watching probably know, but others don't. And whereas I think many, if not most Free Britney people were celebrating that announcement because it seemed to imply that she did have her own attorney. Lisa had a very different perspective, that the attorneys that currently have been representing her are still her attorneys. And now one of those attorneys is now finally kind of getting with the whole, okay, maybe she wants to, she knows that Jamie has to be replaced, or he, the attorney, I don't know if it's a he or she, but let's see what she has to say.
Okay, so Lisa's someone that we met the other day at the rally. Just to be clear, she is not directly related to Britney's case, right? But she is a probate and conservatorship attorney from Glendale, California, so she knows California law and such. So she's simply an expert who also has a daughter who's a fan and
of Britney, yeah.
Correct.
And her passion is helping people, whether it's old people, impaired people.
Is Britney Spears' conservatorship very typical or very atypical in your legal experience with conservatorships, and if how so?
It's very atypical. This is not common. The probate court is really for people that are facing the end of life, they're incapacitated. This is for senior courts. If I understand, and again, I don't have any more access to the file than anyone else. She exhibited signs of trauma and perhaps mental illness. There is a court in the state of California called the Mental Health Court, or LPS Court, and those courts function very differently. And so, first of all, she should have probably been, if she was to be conserved at all, it should have been in mental health court. And the reason that court works differently is that every year the conservatorship would have been terminated unless there was a petition to renew it. So what that did is it would put the burden on the county to continue the conservatorship instead of what's going on in here, which is the burden is placed on Britney to terminate the conservatorship.
So the audio is not the easiest to hear. There are planes going by. We're outside in LA, but it was a lot of legal talk. And what she's saying essentially is that there's a lot of fundamental problems, in her opinion, with how the whole legal setup of the conservatorship has been managed or handled. And her specific background and experience in the legal world, she's saying, is in conservatorships. Again, one of the really interesting things we've said at the top, and we keep saying, is that this is about so much more than a song or songs and music. It's become, you know, how Britney changed people's lives, you know, what that meant. It's become conservatorship topics in general, how it affects elderly people, injured people, incapacitated people. And you know, are conservatorships really set up for a young woman who has made, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, and how is that controlled, and are the checks and balances and systems in place for that, versus, okay, my 90-year-old, you know, parent is no longer able and has the capacity to take care of themselves or their funds and make decisions for themselves. So me as their loving, supportive child should take care of them. That is really what she was saying to us is the intention of conservatorship. She does not believe that what is happening here certainly doesn't sit well with her. She definitely gets very passionate.
She's very passionate.
She does.
It's just an extreme jump.
And I love that she says, like, if there isn't any foul play or any red flags or whatever going on, why don't you open up some of these court documents so that people can have access to them and look? Because it sounds, again, from Lisa, like it's very, very closed. Everything's tight, you know, which, again, we know Britney Spears, obviously celebrity, so we know the reasons why. But I think people just want to make sure that, yeah, what's going on here is is correct, legally, and is support of Britney. But also, can I just say, take away all the money, take away the celebrity, the songs, how people love her. At the end of the day, she is a woman. She's a mother. She has 2 boys. I have 2 boys of my own. I'm gonna get teary-eyed. But I can't imagine, she can't go see her sons whenever she wants. She has to have, she has to be allowed to. Which is crazy to me. She has to be allowed to get, in a car to go to Starbucks. So, take the celebrity out of it. It's just, at the end of the day, a human rights thing too. What's going on here,
Those are some of the things we've read about. Yeah, I mean that, some of the things that we've read about and heard about from people are that it sounds extremely restrictive. Obviously, not everyone on the side of the conservatorship agrees or responds to it either way, but I get that, and I can see that, in your face and hear it in your voice. I know how much you love your boys, and same thing. I could not imagine the idea of, if I was restricted access to my kids or something, and if that is happening, apparently, the wide belief is that it is, it's such a deeper level, and involves other lives and children, and one of the things, we only have a couple minutes left, and then we'll flip around to you guys, see if there's any other comments that you want to hit on before. But when we first started covering this story, which was several weeks ago now, one of the first comments someone wrote to me personally, someone I knew very well, had just written, if this was a man or a young man or a boy, this never would have happened in a million years. And that really struck me. And other people have since, and I remember thinking at the time, all right, and we talked about this, and other people have as well. You had Bieber, who was, it sounds like he's really turned his life around, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that. But you had huge issues with drugs, racing Ferraris at crazy, unsafe speeds, all the other issues that he had going on, completely tattooing his body all over. And again, I'm a lot older with the decisions I've made about my body and tattoos, but he was certainly a lot younger at the time. So there's a lot of different things. Charlie Sheen, someone brought up the other day. I mean, here was a guy who was so out there at some point on various, drugs, and hopefully he has cleaned up his life. But I mean, you can say he was out of control for sure. I think he probably would acknowledge that. I don't know him personally, but he was talking about drinking tiger's blood. And I mean, it was a nonstop media story. And Martin Sheen, his father, would be, on the news, kind of pleading for help for his son. There was not a conservatorship in those cases. I don't remember it ever coming up. There was no, so it is an extreme, it does make you wonder why. And again, going back to the other rumors, or whether it's, I don't even know the right word, but when people are talking about maybe there was a connection with Lou Taylor and Courtney Love, and was it Lindsay Lohan? People were saying. So those are some of the rumors that maybe there is this machine in place, is a theory or a rumor.
So we got about 30 seconds left. How do we want to end this?
Well, how about we leave it with the real diehard Britney fan among us?
Yeah, I'm just happy that we've been able to learn more about this and get involved, talk to everyone, and just learn more. And well, we're hoping to keep going.
For sure.
Adrienne?
I mean, we have a platform. It's a growing platform. It's not the biggest platform, but we do, and we're happy to continue speaking about this. And it's very interesting too, as we dive deeper and deeper into it.
Yeah, we sure appreciate the people who tuned in today and left questions, and you guys will follow up, or we'll follow up later today and post an announcement over.
Yep, we'll do the giveaway.
We're breaking the bank. Yes. We're doing a hat and a shirt. And thanks to our great IT team / our editor, and our graphics people, directors, Cameron, and our digital guy, Toxic, #1 fan, giving thumbs up over there. And all right, thank you guys. And we'll be back soon.
Bye.